Let me calm down. Let me ask a question. When you brought up Obama, I started thinking, now I know you're not a constitutional law person, but I just wanted to ask, broadly speaking, if you will, what your view is of the American system of laws, the constitutional system, our system of negative rights, if you will, which, well, for the audience, basically speaking, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Negative rights basically mean, well, the rights they belong to you innately. They're given to you. You're by God, nature, part of your definition as a human being. And then negative rights just means the rights by definition are not given to you by the government. The government is just the rights there are to tell the government what not to do, right? You shall not create a state church. You shall not do this. You shall not do that, right? That kind of a thing. And the rule of law and these ideals that we have, equality under the law, which I understand are ideals and there is no utopia. So what do you think about both the construct and how close we are to living up to the ideal in your view?
I think we are super close, very, very close in terms of reality. But the closer we come to it, the more the flaws are magnified. And there are tons of flaws that are magnified. But, I lived in Mexico for a while. I lived in Mexico for 5 or 6 years off and on.
I see.
And Mexico has a system that is, in many ways, it mirrors ours in the sense that, meaning that it is the opposite. So take criminal law, for example. Like if you are accused of a crime, the state has to prove that you are guilty. So you sit in the chair in front of your jury and you're like, hey, I'm innocent, man. Let's see what the state says. In Mexico, it is the reverse. Can you imagine a whole country that says, no, if you are accused of a crime, you have the burden to show that you are innocent, right? And we're not doing any of this public trials. In fact, we're not doing any juries. We're going to have one guy in a row. Did he get some money in the case? Who knows, right? So you sit down in this closed hearing. No one knows what's going on. Everybody knows, listen, if there's darkness, if there's closure, if there's no scrutiny, you know what's going on. From the jump, I mean, the system isn't even set up for justice. And the state comes in with a file and they say, okay, you robbed this bank. And they say, you say, well, no, I didn't. And I can prove it because of this and this and this. And the state was, well, the file says you did. That's their case. The written paperwork. The file says you robbed the bank. No, I was over here in this other street. You can ask this, you can ask Jessica, you can ask Steel Curtain, you can ask Gail. Okay, listen, we'll ask Gail, we'll ask the Steel Curtain, we'll ask Jessica. But after we're asking, we're going to look at the file. And if the file says that you robbed the bank, you robbed the bank. The conviction rate is like 99% because you cannot get out from under the file, right? And so people complain a lot about the American justice system with good reason. There are travesties of justice occurring every single day. No one has seen it more than me. No one has been a part of it more than me. No one has benefited more than me, and no one has been on the losing end more than me. 20 years, you've been on both sides. Everybody's making mistakes out here. Judges making mistakes all the time. The law is screwed up. But when you compare it to other nations, how can we complain? That's the thing, right? We can complain if our observable universe is the United States. We could absolutely complain. The issue becomes including, for example, our neighbor Mexico into that observable universe. Once you start including other nations, you talk about the rule of right, the rule of law, Jesus. El Salvador, Honduras, guys, you do not, if you never practiced immigration law or you've never lived in some of those countries, if you never lived, I guess, in the Congo or anything like that, You do not even comprehend what it means to live in a country with no rule of law. Your mind cannot comprehend it.
Mm-hmm.
It would be like you taking a slave from 1820 and bringing the slave to 2021 and handing him a cell phone. He will not, there's nothing, he cannot comprehend this world.
Mm-hmm.
You taking trying to live in these places where there's no rule of law. Somebody doesn't like you, they can put one in your head, you're in the gutter. Who are you calling? No one.
Mm-hmm.
What police? What judge? What court? There's nothing. When you go there for 6 months, or you go to Mexico for 6 months or 6 years, when you come back to the United States, you shut up.
That is exactly why I asked you the question. As you may know, I'm an immigrant myself, and born and raised in Nigeria, right? So,
where are you now? Are you in Nigeria now?
No, I'm in
United
Bay
States
Area. Yeah, I'm in the United States, in the Bay Area.
Gotcha.
Right. So, but born and raised in Nigeria, came over here, lived in New York for a while, and then came to California. Was in SoCal for a while, and then now in the Bay Area. The employees for my company are in Ethiopia and other parts of Africa and England, so on and so forth. So tend to move around a little bit, but based now in the United States. I'm an American citizen.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that immigrants tend to have, advantage, if you will. I see somebody put that comment in there, the statement that, privilege is invisible to those whom, when you have it, when you're steeped in it, it's like that fish that doesn't know what water is, right? But there's the comparison between the rule of law. Just forget other aspects of the government. The fact, the American legal system, the constitutional, just the Constitution to begin with, okay? That Constitution is a great thing. There's some people who go around like, it's like, dude, compared to what? Right?
To what?
That is something people tend to forget. Compared to what? If you're comparing it to heaven in your head, then sure, everything's going to fall short. And then I like the fact that when you said that when moving closer and closer to the target, the flaws get more and more evident, right?
Yes.
But you think we're pretty close. And I like that and that's why I asked you that question, just so that people can appreciate what actually is going on here. Because that whole thing about innocent until proven guilty, equality under the law, of course, there's still people who get away because of affluenza or whatever,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. That happens. But when you compare it with what human nature, with that unshackled human nature, Jesus Christ, man.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. When it comes to, or some people might give a certain pushback to you in terms of the system and changing the system, because you say you advocate, or you lean towards advocating for men in certain ways and so on and so forth. Well, let me ask you this question then before we kind of broaden it out. What is the utility of the child support system in the sense that what is the intended goal, right? And similarly to, like, I asked you about the constitutional system, how close are we in terms of meeting that raison d'etre, if you will, the goal, the stated aim, and what would you change about it in order to better, to form a more perfect union, or whatever it may be, right? So,
Yeah.
What is the goal? Are we close? What would you change?
Yes, that's an excellent question. The goal of child support is, let's take a step back. When is there no child support? When there is a mother and a father and a child and they're married. The mother and the father are married. So you have a husband and a wife and you have a child, right? And that is the goal, to have a mother and a father and a child living together. That's why marriage is so privileged in this country. When there is a divorce, the mother goes one way and the father goes another way. So now you have split. Let's say both of them were working, so they were bringing two incomes into the household. Now they have split, so now each one only has one income. The goal is to maintain the child at the same standard of living as if the couple were still together.
Okay.
right? Which is a crazy goal, because it does not reflect. Anytime humans try to do things that do not reflect reality, we're going down the wrong path. You know, if you have a PhD and you think as a woman you're going to get some value out of that, if you say, "Oh, I'm going to dedicate the next 7 years of my life to get a PhD so that men can want me," you are going down the wrong path. If you are a YouTuber and you think, "Oh, I've got all of these stories in my head and all of these things that people are going to appreciate," and there is no demand for it in the marketplace, you are going down the wrong path, because what you are doing, it does not reflect reality. Reality is the mother of all things. And so when you base a system on two divorced people living together, you're starting off on the wrong foot, period. Now, having said that, in a lot of cases, the child support system, it works pretty well. You know, you have a guy and a girl and they get divorced and the guy has to pay $750 for one kid. The guy is employed. $750 is a little more than he wants to pay. $750 is a little less than the woman wants to receive. We can be honest.
How would you restate the goal then? Because I think you said, okay, the goal does not reflect reality. In other words, the goal to have the child continue to be maintained as though they were together. But, you know, that goal no longer reflects reality because they're no longer together and so on and so forth. But then you say that it works well sometimes in a way that more closely reflects reality, I presume. So if you were to restate the goal, right, of child support, like, you know, it shouldn't be this way, how would you state it? How would you formulate it?
The goal really should be that, you know, the child, you don't want to say that it's hard, right? You don't want to say that the father should only pay the minimum of what the 2-year-old needs, because 2-year-olds, you know, they can live on chicken nuggets, and a lot of guys, you know, chicken nuggets aren't very expensive. But you want here. Let me back up, because there's some things that I'm not telling you. There was a study done by, I think, a Harvard professor who analyzed this, and it was a very deep, comprehensive study that is almost getting no weight, right? But the study shows some economist at Harvard, and he showed that fathers are overpaying child support in general by a ridiculous amount, because these people have been commissioned to formulate how child support is going to work. And the way that they do it is they assume that the child still lives with both parents. And based on that assumption, they assume other things that go along with it. And when the premise is wrong, everything else that comes after it by necessity is wrong. Now, the fact that you have a wrong premise doesn't necessarily mean that the outcome is going to be wrong. It's just, you know, a higher probability. You and I see the world in a way that a computer doesn't see it. You know, we don't see atoms and molecules, even though these things actually exist. So maybe our perception of reality isn't exactly what it is, but we're still able to function. If we could see things better, we would function better. But the way that we function now is satisfactory. Shout out to Raven. Raven is awesome. The way that we function is, do you need me to take a second, by the way, to read the super chats? I don't want to hog up.
So
yeah.
The last one was yeah, you can go ahead and read that one.
Oh, you want me to read it? Okay, we got
go ahead and read it.
Jared Bogarty, I hope I'm saying that right, says the child support system is a symptom to a greater illness that needs to be addressed. I agree with this. Here's oh, sorry, I was about to go off on that. But yeah, if you want to read a few more.
And I think this is the only other one that we're missing.
Oh, shout out to Neil Stewart, man. Says greetings to Ike and the leader. I feel so bad about Neil Stewart. Neil Stewart sent me 3 super chats, and he sent me a message. He said, lead attorney, you missed all 3.
Because I always,
I shout out the super chats. I'll never forget that, Neil. You have a special place in my heart, Neil. I am gunning for your super chats. I'm never gonna miss another one. I felt so terrible.
And let me go ahead and plug my channel on my channel. For those of you who are here from Team lead attorney, team advocacy, team Kwame even. Go ahead and click the subscribe button, like, subscribe, bell button, and all that stuff. Like, subscribe, bell button, all LBSA, I believe. Yeah, that's the algorithm. Go ahead and do that. And please go ahead, continue with your description of how child support would work better. And also, you were going to perhaps respond to Mr. Bogarty, I believe that's his way.
Bogarty, okay.
Being a symptom of a larger ill.
Yes, here's the thing. Usually, child support is the default. Like there's in a divorce, there's going to be child support. I think that's wrong from the start. I think the default should be no child support. Now you say lead attorney, it doesn't sound fair. It sounds like women are going to get screwed. Well, women will get screwed under the present system, which assumes that the default is the woman has custody. We need to step back. We need to move the camera back one notch and examine custody, because it's really custody that determines the child support. The default in the vast majority of cases, whether it's on the books or whether it's just in reality, is that the woman is going to get primary physical custody of the kid. What does that mean? It means the kid is going to live with the mom and visit with the dad, which is atrocious. It is atrocious. How can it be that you have half of your DNA, half of your chromosomes into a child, yet you only get to see the child 20%? You only get to visit with your own child. That to me is a huge injustice from the start. 50-50 custody should be the default in every case. Now, does that mean that 50-50 custody should be applied in every case? No, that's where the word default comes, right? As a judge, Ike, if you and Jessica are married and you divorce and you come before me, I'm going to tell you, listen, Ike, listen, Jessica, you made this kid. So I'm starting out. I don't know anything about your case. The case has just started. In my head right now, Ike, you get the kid 50% of the time. Jessica, you get the kid 50% of the time. Now, this is how I'm coming. Now, Ike, if you want to propose to me why it shouldn't be 50%, I'll listen. Jessica, if you want to propose to me why it shouldn't be 50-50, I'll listen. But if I don't hear any compelling arguments on either side after both of you stop talking, it's going to be 50-50. And guess what? Since it's 50-50, Ike, when your kid is with you, you pay for the Chuck E. Cheese. You pay for the movies. You pay for the shoes or whatever. Jessica, when your kid is with you, same thing. You pay for the Chuck E. Cheese. You pay for the movies. You pay for the mall. If there are any big expenses, braces, glasses, health insurance, we can find a way to split that according to your means, right? Ike, maybe your means are a little bit more than most people. So maybe you might have to take a bigger portion of the braces, fine. But in terms of just general child support, there's going to be none. So what I'm proposing is a total overhaul of the whole system, because we're not going to start off with mothers just naturally get child support. Let's figure out how much we're going to tax the dad. To me, that is a totally unfair system. To me, there needs to be 50-50. Now, Ike, you say, listen, I travel a lot. I'm a pilot. One day I'm in Australia, the next day I'm in Switzerland. I can't have this child. Or you say, Ike, I'm a Navy SEAL. 6 months out of the year, I got to go to Afghanistan. Fine. If you are saying because of the job that you have chosen that you don't want to make other arrangements, fine. I'm not going to force you to have 50-50 custody of this kid. Now child support comes in because you are opting out of the 50-50. Gotcha. And let's be honest, there are some women who don't want their kids, and there are some men who are like, listen, just give me every other weekend. Fine. If you tell the court that you want every other weekend, fine. Now child support comes in.
I see.
But,
that's pretty good now. And I'm sure, so could you speculate as to how the landscape of marriages and divorces would change if this system were to be implemented? There's going to be some downstream, or shall we say lateral effects, right? Do you think people will treat divorces differently? 80, whatever the number is, women tend to file for divorce more. And that goes over any country, right? I think the divorce rate in Nigeria is, I think it's like less than 1% or some crap like that.
That's crazy.
It's
I can't
it's
even
ridiculous. Doesn't even
comprehend
make,
that. That's like me
yeah,
bringing the slave to 2021. I
yeah.
can't comprehend that.
But it's I think we went in, I had a whole show with Bernard about it, about just kind of looking at why that is the case, for several reasons, cultural and also economic as well. But if you put it this, because now we're affecting certain economic things, right?
Absolutely.
Can you speculate as to certain implied, downstream effects, lateral effects within the marriage landscape slash childbearing landscape slash divorce landscape? Do you think anything will change in that regard?
Yes.
Okay.
Women would be less incentivized to file for divorce, and men would be more incentivized to file for divorce. I cannot tell you how many men. Listen, guys, there are more. I don't know what the manosphere feels like why women file for divorce more. A lot of times, it seems like the manosphere thinks that women file for divorce more because they're evil, or something like that, or they just want to get out. And there are so many reasons why that's not the case. Some of it is, but some of it's not. Men will stay in bad marriages just for the kids. Like, if you've got two of my kids and I know that I'm only going to visit with them, I'm going to stay in this marriage forever. You're going to have to file. Right? And that number would be more equal if I know that I'm not going to get visitation with my kids. At least it's going to be fair. Men are going to step up to the plate more and file for this divorce. Similarly, women know that they're going to see their child less, because right now women are seeing their children after a divorce 75% of the time, 80% of the time. So they've got an incentive to get out. If they know that they're going to see their child less, they will be incentivized to stay in a marriage, just as the men are incentivized to stay in a marriage now. Right? And so men would file for more, and women would file less. Also, women would be less promiscuous, to be honest, because we are talking about child support as it relates to a married couple. But there is also child support when a man and a woman, create a child outside of a marriage. And if women know that they're going to get less money, then they're going to take less risk in getting pregnant. They're going to choose the man of their father better. If they're going to receive less, maybe there'll be less incentive for women to hunt men or put babies on men that are not theirs. It would change. There would be so many downstream effects, and almost all of them would negatively affect the woman, positively affect the man, and I believe positively affect the child.
So, I mean, all these things that you mentioned, including also divorce laws that are different, are part of the reason why there's a 0.5 divorce rate in Nigeria, right? So it's about the divorce laws, and then and the child support laws, and all those other kinds of things. And it's because some people would think, oh my God, these Nigerian men just have women under lock and key. Someone like you don't know Nigerian women if you think that's what's going on. That's not what it is. There's a big difference in culture, and human beings operate under a set of incentives. Like, it's no, you put the incentives such, people are just going to do it. Like you said, it's not about good or evil. It's like incentives, right?
Absolutely.
So now let me bring up something rather interesting here. And we're winding down about so you're not a disinterested party when it comes to the law, right? You are an officer of the court. You get paid to operate within the system the way the system operates right now. So what do you say to those people who come up with the inevitable charge against you that why would you yes, all this talk about advocacy is good, but why would you change the system when you quote unquote benefit from it as it is, right? Now look, granted, okay, the notion of rational self-interest is well known to us. It's a kind of a bedrock of capitalism / liberal democracy the whole notion that it is not out of the beneficence of the butcher or baker that you get your bread and your meat. The butcher doesn't wake up and go, oh my God, lead attorney needs meat today. No, the butcher is saying, I need to pay my bills, my kids need to eat. Hence, I'm going to make sure that there's good meat, well presented, for lead attorney to purchase at a decent price so I can make enough profit. So he's operating within his own rational self-interest. So all that granted, what do you have to say with people who make that kind of a statement as to, well, why would you want to change a system within which you exist and quote unquote benefit?
Yes, that charge has a faulty assumption.
Mm-hmm.
The assumption is that the way the system is now maximally benefits me.
Exactly.
And what that person does not understand is that lawyers are going to be benefited from whatever system it is.
Exactly.
Like, we are going to get our cut, whatever the system is. If women get the children the majority of time, lawyers are going to get paid. If women get the children 50% of the time and men 50% of the time, lawyers are going to get paid the same. If men get the children 80% of the time, like the women, we're still going to get paid. Guys, you got to pay me either way, right? I mean, so it's not like, oh, I don't want to change the status quo because I'm getting it so good. That's the beauty of being a middleman. You got to come through me. Mm-hmm. Right. So that charge, it really doesn't make sense when you understand how the system is. I am, at least in terms of divorce law, there are parts of law where if you make a fundamental change, certain attorneys will be benefited. Let's say medical malpractice. Maybe you have a state where there's no cap on medical malpractice. So if I represent you and you're in an accident and the doctor messes up, I can take, $100 million from the doctor's insurance. But there are states that say, hey, for medical malpractice, the most you can get from any doctor is $250,000 and you got to get the rest from insurance. I don't like that $250,000 cap. I want no cap. So in that particular instance, from that system, I am benefited by the maintenance of the status quo. In the family law system, it's just not that way. It's just not that way, especially because I'm going to represent men sometimes and I'm going to represent women sometimes. I represent both. And so it's so mixed in together. You're going to have to see me either way. And women are going to see me and men are going to see me. So no matter what change there is in the environment, I am always going to benefit. The only way I'm not going to benefit is if they say there is no more divorce. Then I'm screwed. Then I need to find another job. I need to learn how to become a mechanic or something. But as long as there's divorce, as long as there's child custody battles, as long as there's alimony battles, as long as there's visitation battles, it doesn't matter what the law change is. You're still going to have to go through an attorney. Now, of course, you have the option to represent yourself, right? So I don't want to speak too broadly. Most people with money are not going to do that.
All right. So
did I answer your question? I don't know if I answered.
Oh no, yeah, 100%. 100%. You. I mean, I kind of knew it was kind of baked in there that obviously simply changing the system does not necessarily mean that you're gonna undercut yourself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one could even change the system in such a way that it could be good for it can have a utilitarian good for the masses, if you will, and you get more money. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
So
usually with changes, you do see. I mean, we're going to make money either way. You would think, for example, that when the pandemic hit, right, everybody started losing their jobs, that lawyers would be negatively affected. It was the total opposite. Like we got so much because people were locked into their houses and spouses started fighting, so divorces went up. They skyrocketed. Husbands and men were losing their jobs, so they couldn't pay their child support from the other baby, so they all needed to hire us to lower their child support amounts. Like whatever change there is, usually, whether the economy is great or whether it's terrible, you gotta come see us.
in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What a pity, tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil smirking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, could either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest and the righteous in your corners.